Acabem com isso! Preciso! É cobertura!
I knew nothing resembling good times lay beyond that gate, but I was gonna have to face the music sooner or later. Special Forces painkillers.
I guess our little stunt helped some other civic-minded people raise valid concerns about community relations. Their faces said it all. I was on their side, but how could they know that? If they came through that door, I'd be leaving as a human shield and never leaving at all. Luckily for me, for once the police arrived just in time.
It sounded like all hell was breaking loose. Whatever nonsense De Silva had pulled, it seemed to be working.
Me dá um nome. Eu só sei que teve um apagão, isso é tudo que eu sei.
The last few prisoners were trapped in here, and more impressively, it seemed I was too. The security switch had to be in that booth. their body armor. I had mine. It was Monday's arrest log, as far as I could tell, and no sign of anybody from Nova Esperanza. All those poor bastards have been checked straight into the Imperial Palace Hotel. That kid had the right idea. There was no point bouncing bullets off that thing. I decided I'd try to pick up where he left off. And then immediately regretted that decision. Sticks at a hurricane. I needed something with a little more thunder. Throwing sticks at a hurricane. I needed something with a little more thunder. Seemed a crying shame to let that RPG go to waste. Seemed a crying shame to let that RPG go to waste. this nice. The perfect end to a perfect trip. If someone had told me 6 months ago this was where my life was headed, I'd have ordered a double of whatever they were drinking, drunk it, then blown my head off.
Que porra você tá tentando fazer? Quebra as pernas dele! Cadê seu respeito?
Another dark, rainy night. Another police station. Another futile crusade for amends. Time moves forward, and nothing changes. Every bastard in the joint must have known I was on the loose by now. I couldn't afford to waste any more time. Luckily, I wasn't the only cop with a pill problem. Police food, the same crap the world over. But I could reminisce about the old days later. For now, there was more pressing matters to deal with. They'd come from the control room. It looked like the security cameras were still running. It looked like the prisoners were giving them a run for their money. That's what happens when you hand some roided-up half-wit a commando uniform with special on the front and let him ride around his hometown in a tank playing soldiers. Sooner or later, someone's gonna decide he's not so special. There were a bunch more in the elevator, tooled up like they were about to roll into Fallujah. And of course, they were headed my way. If the heat was rising, that meant I was getting closer to the source. I had to keep moving. Seemed the anti-drug squad had a few habits of its own. I saw the elevator doors were open. If there was one thing I learned since being in São Paulo, it was that me and the local elevators were not a good mix. Whatever depressing fate lay on the other side of those doors, there was no point in putting it off any longer. I'd killed more cops than cholesterol, and still no sign of Becker. It wasn't the first time it dawned on me I should probably have gone over the plan in more detail, but it was too late for that now. AUP. Those were the guys who jumped the yacht in Panama. And what was this? Had the Brazilian cops tipped them off about the money? If I didn't hurry, Becker would be long gone. Figured I'd bag those up for evidence. I still didn't know how I'd gone from drinking myself numb in New Jersey to looting corpses in Brazil. But this was where I was,
5,000 miles from a home I couldn't go back to on another suicide mission to clean up a mess that wasn't even mine. The CS were all but out of business in São Paulo, and suddenly Becker and Victor looked like local heroes in the war on crime. They'd really gotten their money's worth outsourcing their problems onto me. My old pal Serrano. We'd both been unwitting clowns in this sorry circus. Part of me hoped he'd made it out of that hotel alive. I didn't recognize the guy. Maybe this was the new slum king De Silva had talked about. A throne never stays empty for long. Fame at last. It was no great surprise I'd made Ufe's most wanted list. I hadn't done much to improve the reputation of Americans abroad over the past few weeks, and there they were, my illustrious employers, 3 dead and still every chance I'd go 4 for 4. None of this was gonna look good on the resume. And I was in good company. Howell Passos, sent up north to find a washed-up gringo who'd act tough and play dumb. Boy, did he ever deliver. It was starting to feel as if I'd never leave that place. Like one of those nightmares where you keep running and running, only to discover you're chasing yourself. Nothing I was gonna find in there could make a difference now. I had all the evidence I needed. Tear gas. This wasn't good. I needed to find a way out of that stairwell and fast. That would have been too easy. The doors were all locked. There had to be something else I wasn't seeing. If I didn't do something soon, I was going to be crying myself to a very long sleep. This was a waste of time. Tear gas. This wasn't good. I needed to find a way out of that stairwell and fast. The bastards had me locked in. The doors were all locked. There had to be something else I wasn't seeing. If I didn't do something soon, I was going to be crying myself to a very long sleep. That would have been too easy.
eyes and throat burned, but at least I could breathe. I was trying to work out what direction I was headed in when I discovered some more Brazilian architecture not designed for the American physique. There it was, the tape from the Branco security system. Jesus, it was that guy. I had seen him in the favela. Bachmeyer, Becker's right-hand man. His time would come. Him and Becker.